The college football show for a week 5. So here we are on a Monday morning. Appreciate you all stopping by. If you would like more on a week 4, hey, check out our Sunday show. We did a call-in show on Sundays. We do each and every week. Check it out. And then also the big Saturday night wrap-up show as well, right here at the Voice of College Football. But we come your way. It's Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And then it's post-game on Thursday and Friday night. Much to get to. We've got 1 hour with you. If you would like us to stay on longer, we go to overtime at $100. We appreciate you being here. And so $100 for overtime. Otherwise, we are here every day. So we provide the most consistent college football coverage of anyone. So let's get to week 5. And the schedule, we've got one news item to get to that I see. And then after that, we will go to the calls. So let's do that first and foremost. We've got a firing in the Big Ten. And this is no enormous surprise. Graham Harrell, the offensive coordinator at Purdue, which has been just a dumpster fire, to use the cliched term, has fired its offensive coordinator, Graham Harrell. Graham Harrell, of course, of Texas Tech fame as a quarterback, who then has had several stops as an offensive coordinator, first as a graduate assistant, of course, under the legendary Mike Leach. All right. So, as being reported here by Adam Rittenberg of ESPN, record-setting quarterback for Texas Tech under Mike Leach, first significant staff hire for Ryan Walters at Purdue. They pursued ultimately to land transfer quarterback Hudson Card, and Purdue scored 49 points and 35 points in wins over Minnesota and Indiana late last season. But after opening with 49 points against Indiana State, an FCS program, Purdue has scored only 38 total points in losses to Notre Dame, Oregon State, and Nebraska. The Boilermakers did not reach the end zone until 90 seconds left remain in Saturday's 28-10 home loss to Nebraska. So basically, they could not score a meaningful touchdown. Decisions like this are never easy, Walters said in a statement. After evaluating our start of the season, I felt that it was best for our team to make a change now. We are appreciative of Graham's contributions to our program. Wish him the best. Walters did not immediately announce who will handle offensive play calling and coaching the quarterbacks. Graham Harrell is 39. He came to Purdue with previous coordinator experience at West Virginia, USC, and North Texas. Harrell is Purdue's highest paid assistant, said to earn $950,000 as well as $1 million in 2025. Played in the CFL, spent 2010, 11, and 12 with the Green Bay Packers as a player, and Purdue's got a trip to Wisconsin on Saturday. So Purdue, CU, Graham Harrell, and that's what's going on there. As we discussed last week with this potential firing, discussed it a number of times, that Ryan Walters, being a defensive-minded coach, boy, had a basketball flashback there. Ryan Walters, with the defensive background that he has, anytime you've got a one-sided head coach, meaning, boom, this is my specialty, this is my expertise, then it's extremely important to hire, of course, an offensive coordinator that is going to get the job done and handle that side of the football, because they are almost, in a sense, the head coach of the offense. And Purdue not getting the job done. It's just a bad football program with just void of talent. And it's right now, you've got to say, the worst program in the Big Ten. All right, that's that on the Purdue front. Let's get to our calls. We got Caden on the line. Caden, what's going on?
Good morning, Mark. Said the man who called me a moron yesterday. Purdue, what the fuck is happening over there? Jesus, you're a whole dumpster fire. You're going to need Tom Brady to save your program, probably, just to save you. But it probably won't happen this year. I'm just going to put that fact out.
Okay. we'll clarify that. Purdue is not hiring Tom Brady. That's a news flash, I guess. Okay, very good.
And second of all, Georgia, you need to get that defense back up and running. What happened to the almighty dogs that people said you could never beat? You could never defeat. What happened? Did you guys not eat right? Sleep right? Did you guys not do anything right in the past week? I'm just going to say, as a former D1 high school football player, when you get off to a bad start in the week and then you lose on the road big time, it's not fun. It's not fun. Because either Georgia's slacking because I don't know what's wrong with their defense or their offense, but that's just me. And I've said this previously, Mark.
Yep.
That Georgia needs to start bringing more physicality on their defense. And I will say that specifically. Why? Because Jalen Milroe was running right all over them in the first quarter. And that defense couldn't stop them. So they need to get the defense back up and running. If they're going to be the one team that actually wins it by one loss to the playoffs, they need to start having that defense back up and running, and they need to bring more physicality on that defense. Because the last couple of years, when they were that undefeated playoff team that everybody loved, that everybody saw that was just so unbeatable, that was busting people over the head, that's the defense that I'm asking Georgia to please still have, if they still have it. The one defense that said, who's that coming down the track? Who's that coming down the track? You know what I mean?
Don't recall Georgia ever singing that song, but maybe they do.
I do. For the last 3 years, they've been singing that song. Because the only freight train I see coming down the track that's coming down storming on people is Ohio State right now. That's the only team I'm seeing. Because clearly I don't see you on that same railroad track.
So Georgia's done.
I wouldn't say done completely, but I'm just asking that Kirby Smart and them put the fear of God in those boys and actually put some anger in that defense and actually start waking them up a little more. Wake up. Just wake up that angry defense that people feared for the last 3 years, Georgia. Oh my God.
All right, Caden. Anything else on whether that be Georgia or, we've got a guest stopping by, but we appreciate you stopping by because we've got our buddy Ty Hudson here to talk some Arkansas football. If a
Arkansas football?
For us, Caden.
Arkansas football? Yeah, yes. I like to see them come up to Columbus one day to play the Buckeyes, and I like to see them how they feel about after a 50-point beat down at the hands of Ohio State. I would like that. I would like to see that, definitely, 100%. I guarantee you that.
I'm sure that Ohio State fans would like to see a 50-point beat down of anyone, and Arkansas would love their fans to be graced with a 50-point win over Ohio State. I'm not understanding the point.
Not a 50-point win for them. It's a 50-point win for Ohio State. It's going to be a loss for them, Mark. Get that fact straight.
It's not a fact, sir.
So, I'll tell you, it is a fact. Why? Because Ohio State's the number one defense in the country, number one offense in the country, have the highest paid recruits in the country on both offense and defense, and their defense is the only defense in the country that's allowed the fewest points this season so far. I've got this, and that's statistically correct, Mark. So you can deny me all you want, but at the end of the year,
anything. I'm just clarifying something that
clarify.
America don't understand the difference between opinion and fact.
Opinion and fact.
Ohio State's a better football team than Arkansas. Yes,
and we're a better team, and we're a better team than Georgia. We're a better team than Texas, and we're a better team than Alabama.
We don't know,
and we're a better team than Miami.
We don't know that.
We don't know that. Just wait until Oregon, because on October 12th, It's going to be an unforgiving slaughter because Oregon is going to get their butts handed to them. And I'm going to tell you, they're going to be dish fried barbecue
that the other day that Ohio State's going to beat Oregon by 49 points. I do remember that.
And let's not forget about
little out of anything else you said, because the rest of it was complete nonsense, including tearing up the Oklahoma defense, which you knew nothing about when I challenged you on Oklahoma. So,
speaking of Oklahoma, so all the Oklahoma fans on here,
and give me a call again sometime. Thank you. All right, let's get to the important people. We got Ty Hudson here. Oh, well, you need some context here, Ty. So this guy calls me for the first time. It was either Saturday or Sunday. So it must have been Sunday. So this guy calls me, and he's welcome to call. Caden, call back again. Please, we will educate you here on college football. So you are welcome. Everybody's welcome, of course. So he calls, and he's got like this big salesman voice at the beginning, and he has all these cliches and catchphrases, and he kind of goes into this show for about 30 seconds. And I thought, boy, I got a smooth talker on my hands here, which is fine. But then I could tell all that was rehearsed. And then we started actually talking about football, and it was a train wreck.
I was going to say, it reminded me of, for any wrestling fans out there, reminded me of the Ultimate Warrior yelling at Mean Gene during one of their promos. That's all I could hear. It was just like this continuous kind of rambling. Well, let me tell you something about Ohio State and Arkansas. That was probably more Stone Cold, but yeah, I don't know what that was all about.
Well, it was pretty funny. And Caden's welcome to call back at any time. And he took offense because I called him a moron about 14 times yesterday. So he didn't like that, which maybe I shouldn't do that. But when people act like morons, then I will call them out. And then the last thing on him, just to differentiate things, because that's an what really irritated me. I went off on this when he left the show. So you're obviously in a different category as a guest who has a legitimate platform, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. You're a guest. We give you first priority. So Ty Hudson, Tusk Talk with Ty, if you're not aware, right here on YouTube. But when people come on here as callers, as viewers, and they start promoting their show and telling us when they're going to be on, and so that pisses me off.
Yeah.
Come on here, and I will determine if we are going to. You're a viewer. You're a caller. You're not a guest on the show.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure that's. I've not had that. I'll get people in my live chat that will. Like I'm in the middle of a post game rant, and then people are like, "Oh, I can't wait till so and so goes off," and I'm like, I just sat here and I feel like I kind of gave you a pretty authentic, totally real, 100% legitimate complaint and argument going off, especially after Arkansas losing to another close game the way that they did, which I know we're going to touch on here in a minute. But that kind of, it's like, really, I just feel like I can't wait to see so and so go off here in a minute. And I'm like, bro, what do you on my live? At least appreciate some of what I'm saying, or maybe if you disagree, tell me where I'm wrong. Give me some respect. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So anyway,
I'm glad I had a front row seat to that. I was dying. I was telling my Discord about it. I was telling them this is you guys are missing something.
Yes. Again, boy, if you were impressed by that, yesterday's was quite the spectacle. But anyway, because these teams do have different units and so forth. Like if somebody wants to deem that Arkansas is, let's say, no good, let's understand that like the quarterback is different than the running back room, than the wide receiver room. They can marginal teams or teams that are disappointing, like Oklahoma was cited in this conversation. They can have really good players on the team. They can have different units that are struggling and other ones that are really good. It's not all just everybody's playing at the same level. Right. So getting to this Arkansas team against Texas A&M, a 21-17 loss, a 4-point loss for the Hogs in this game. All right, they score first. I saw that play, but I got to say, I usually make time for this game, but I did not see much of anything. I saw again the Isaac Tesla big touchdown to get Arkansas going. So, how would you size this one up?
Man, I don't know. I've been listening to a little bit of the talk radio today. Down here we have Chuck and Bo show, which is brand new. Of course, Chuck Barrett is the voice of the Razorbacks, and he's been with Morning Rush with those guys, and now him and Bo Mattingly have their own show. And I was listening to the callers, and it's kind of a mixed bag. People saying we need to be patient, Razorback fans should be patient, and then other callers going, this is year 5. I mean, what the hell is going on? Like, why are we still not winning these close games? This one was you come out and you what a gorgeous throw by Green to Tesla. What a throw. And then, they get off to this pretty quick start, and you're thinking, okay, in the back of my mind, I'm saying, please don't be Oklahoma State 2.0, where you just get off to this great start, you rack up a bunch of yards, you outgain them, you maybe make a mistake or two, but you overcome them. And then what happens? They let kind of A&M get back in the game. Their A&M pass rush, which is really good, by the way. I don't know that Arkansas fans are putting enough respect on A&M's pass rush. It's really good. I thought their run defense, I don't know where they're ranked. I wasn't super impressed with their run defense going back the couple times I was able to watch them, and yet they clamped down Arkansas pretty good. To be fair, Jaquindon Jackson was dealing with an injury or something was going on. His carries were limited. He only had 10 carries for 37 yards, so something's going on there. And they did. They moved away from the run game, which is the exact opposite of what Arkansas should be doing. It's just, Mark, it's more of the same. And it's strange to me we're talking about year 5, and I'm hearing people saying you need to have patience. I mean, Mark, as well as I do, 5 years in today's college football is quite a long time. And to see the exact same thing play out over and over and over again, you're going to call fans delusional for at least wanting a better offensive line, especially because your head coach did that for 30 years. He was an offensive line coach, and he was known as a guru, and he coached at some big schools, including Georgia. And yet year 5, you're having these same problems you had a year ago where the quarterback is running for his life. And by the way, even when Green had a clean pocket, wasn't super sharp. But it's hard to lay the blame at the feet of Green. It's like all of the above, man. It's the same thing. By the way, Arkansas is 6-16 in one-score games under Pittman, 0-2 this year, 2024. So I mean, it's just more of the same. This is why fans they're out of patience. They're done. For the people who wanted him gone last year, they're kind of sitting on a pedestal right now, right? They're going, see, we told you this is what you're in for. And then you've got the other side going, well, hold on, we're 3-2. We got a winning record. Let's just slow down. And I don't know, Mark. It's difficult to wake up on a Monday morning for Hog fans and go to work and have this one, another close game, linger on their minds.
Yeah, because once you go to the one score stat, it's my thought that when that collection is 3 or 4 games, anything could be the root of the issue. The team could actually be playing over its head and staying within one score of teams that they shouldn't be. But once you get to 22 games over the course of 4.5 seasons, then we're looking at usually that starts to creep into, okay, there's something going wrong here. This is a trend. And that usually points to game management, preparation, adjustments in game. If you're constantly losing one score games.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's more of the same. And Hog fans are, Mark, I mean, they're just over it. And what's weird, and now this morning, the phone calls they're not the exception. I'm sure a lot of people want to call in and rage and all that, but there seems to be, I interact with a lot of Hog fans, whether through friends, family, fans, people who watch the show. I get DMs. I'm sure you know that feeling all too well. It's weird that I'm getting the sense of just apathy has set in. It's almost like, yeah, we're upset, but yeah, it's just we expect this. That's crazy. If I'm Hunter Yurachek, this is a huge problem because you do have Tennessee coming into town. I'm sure fans will show up for that. But Mark, eventually people are going to stop showing up. I mean, they kind of already have. I mean, last year we saw a little bit of that. We saw that earlier in the year. This season, they're kind of checking out. And it's like there's no excitement around the football program. And I said last year, if you keep Sam and you don't get a gigantic turnaround, you don't kill it in the portal, which I think they did okay, and you don't create that offseason buzz, and then you get off to a slow start, this is going to get ugly quick. And guess what? You got Tennessee coming to town, who I think right now is like a 13 or so point favorite. You know, if you get lambasted in that one, you got to turn around and play LSU. Of course, you got a bye week, but this could get really ugly, and the pressure is going to be on. If it's not already on, it's about to turn up. It's about to turn up to 10. It's going to get loud for Hunter Yurachek. His inbox is going to be wild.
So do you think they need to hit a win total to keep all that from happening?
Well, it's got to be 6, but Mark, I don't see it. I really don't know where it's at. And this has been an ongoing argument in my Discord and my live chats. What's the magic number? I've got someone in my Discord, one of my mods, saying, oh, well, people can't see the forest for the trees. You know, you have to keep Sam even if he only wins 5. And I'm telling you that, first off, I think you're settling. You really could be risking more of the same if you keep Sam. However, he's also not wrong. You could make a hire who's even worse and sets you back. I think some of that's that Chad Morris effect, right? Where you went from Brett Bielema for 5 years where you kind of reached a level of mediocrity, and then you hired Chad Morris and you saw what happened. I think that's some of what's going on in Hog fans' minds, the people who don't want Sam fired no matter what. I think the win total might be 6. I feel like it should be 7, but it's going to be 6. And again, I don't know where they come from. I really don't. I mean, unless you can get an upset over LSU, I don't see Tennessee. I'm sorry. They're fired on all cylinders.
Yeah.
Maybe Mississippi State, Louisiana
They
Tech.
better beat Mississippi State. If they lose to Mississippi State,
he's gone. I think that's it. I think the Mississippi State game, especially if you lose to LSU in Tennessee and you're riding that losing streak into Mississippi State and you lose that game, I think he's probably fired. And yeah, you still would have 4 games left, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4 games. But I think he'd be gone. I do. If he lost to Mississippi State and you're riding a losing streak going into that game, yeah, maybe I'm wrong, but I think he'd be let go.
Got Ty Hudson here. Tusk Talk with Ty. It's only a click away right here on YouTube. So get on over there, check out what Ty has available. And of course, the basketball season, that's going to be the saving grace, I guess, out of all this to a certain extent. But we're not going to talk hoops, but just letting you know that Ty covers all things Arkansas athletics. So do you think this is a matter of this is the team we have? The coaching staff is doing I don't want to say an outstanding job, but a passable job. They're doing a B-level work, and this is just the most that they can get out of these guys. Or there are serious gaffes and underachievements scattered across both sides of the football, will include special teams, and therefore this team could play better and the results could be better, or this is what this football team is, and therefore it's a talent acquisition issue.
Is D all the above an option? Like I think it's a little bit of all of that. Like A&M has more talent, right? But so did Auburn, and Arkansas played really bad against Auburn and still beat them by 10 points. And you feel like maybe they left some points on the field. Auburn, to be fair, left points on the field. They had that long run that was ended up being a fumble that Arkansas recovered. But things have not really gone Arkansas's way. They were penalized. And I haven't blamed officiating at all this year because I really think it's just an Arkansas problem. However, I did think there was quite a bit of holding on A&M that was not called, and Arkansas got away with a pretty big PI in the third quarter. I think it was 15. A couple times I saw him grabbing jersey, which is, by the way, something I saw him do quite a bit in spring and fall camp, and it's showing up in games. He was lucky to not get called for PIs, but they kind of let them play until they didn't, and then Arkansas just got hit left and right with penalties. But I think it's D, all the above. I mean, nobody they have coming up, right? Okay, Auburn had more talent than Arkansas. A&M has more talent than Arkansas. Tennessee has more talent than Arkansas. LSU has more talent than Arkansas. Then you get to Mississippi State, where Arkansas's got the edge. Ole Miss clearly has the edge because what they did in the portal. And then Texas, obviously, right, has more talent. And then Louisiana Tech, you better have more talent than. And then Missouri, I don't really know talent-wise if you're just talking stars where Mizzou racks up. I think they are behind Arkansas, but they're despite kind of a weird start for them, their offense looks a little not so great. Yeah. They're still going to get the edge. It's just a reflection of the head coach, if you want my opinion. I mean, where you're at right now, your offensive line, and this was brought up Saturday. Where are the answers on the offensive line? Is there someone else they can go to? And the answer is, I'm pretty sure this is what you get. It's what you get. This was the talent issue or the depth issue I've been talking about since spring and fall camp, Mark. I've been saying this. They've got what they've got. I don't know if there's any help on the way, and they've got Patrick Kudas, who's been hurt, who would be a very good asset on that offensive line. When he wasn't practicing, when we weren't hearing about him and we weren't seeing him, and then they cut off the media, they don't allow us back at practice, he's being asked, Pittman's being asked, where's Kudas? What's going on with Kudas? And it's, so we don't know, and it sounds like he might get a red shirt. That was a problem. That was, I wasn't going to say red flag, but this is an issue. They don't have the depth there. I don't think they have the depth in the interior defensive line, although run defense has actually been pretty good until the A&M game. It's all over the place. I wish I had a more clear answer, but it's kind of, like I said, maybe a little bit of D, all the above. This might just be as good as you get. I know in the secondary, they are missing guys like Hudson Clark and Braxton. Those are two huge pieces. When you talk about Braxton from a talent level standpoint, I think he's a future, probably third, maybe second, third round draft pick. I think he's that good. And then Hudson Clark, who's the communicator on the back end of that defense. He's the communicator. You may not like his play the last couple of years, and I would agree, but he is the key communicator in the back end of that defense. And he's not been available. And so there's just so many things going on here, a lot of moving parts. I don't think help is on the way until they can get fully healthy, especially in the secondary. There's just so many questions. And again, I don't want to be a negative Nancy, but it just kind of is what it is. I don't know where the answers are. You feel like if something were to happen to Armstrong, who's got some durability issues. I love Armstrong. I think he's just such a fantastic. He's a warrior, man. I mean, he wants yards after catch. He wants to make the big plays. He's got great hands. He can make the physical catches with coverage right on top of him. But he's he's had issues every week with some kind of, either stinger, cramping, just kind of the minor stuff. He seems a little injury prone. They're minor injuries. They keep him off the field. And then the offense starts to struggle because they don't have another receiver. It was nice to see Teslaw make that wonderful, what a throw again by Green and what a catch by him. And for him to get open like that was great to see. But then he kind of vanished. And Centennia, I think, kind of stepped up for him. But it doesn't seem like outside of Armstrong, there's any real reliable number two. Maybe it's Centennia. But I don't know. I could go on and on, but there's a lot of question marks with this team. And we're at the halfway point of the season, or we're coming up on it.
Yeah, so 3-2 overall. Again, the Oklahoma State game is a game in which I saw start to finish, outplayed Oklahoma State for 3+ quarters, let the game go, made mistakes, racked up a ridiculous amount of yardage and yardage advantage. Oklahoma State has proven not to be that good of a football team, but regardless, they were an underdog, sizable dog, 10 points at Oklahoma State. The Auburn game, had Auburn been playing better, they were supposed to beat Cal by 2 touchdowns. They would have been a more substantial favorite, but Arkansas was about a 3-point dog at Auburn. So if you really look at where the team would have been projected by most people at this point, it would have been 2-3 and not 3-2.
Yeah.
Or it would have been, let's see. Yeah, so they're 3-2.
I mean, the projection would be that they'd be 0-2 in conference play for sure.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is, I mean, that's fair, you know, and I do think Arkansas, again, kind of gave that game away to A&M with 3 turnovers to none with the penalties. They led most of the game. It didn't really seem like it was getting to a point where you felt like A&M was for sure going to win until, you know, late in the fourth quarter, or at least around the 12. Well, I say late in the fourth quarter, actually fairly early in the fourth quarter, but still, like, Arkansas was in there. And Auburn is just not good. Auburn is just, I don't know what's going on with Hugh Freeze. I'm a little surprised at how just not impressive they are this year and last year. And, but I think that is some of it. But yeah, I'm right there with you. In fact, I think my original prediction that had them at 6 wins, I believe I had them at 0-2 in conference play. No. I'm sorry. I had Arkansas beating A&M. So we're right where I guess I thought we would be. But I think it's the manner in which they're losing these games and just how bad the pass protection is from the offensive line. I mean, they're giving up far too many. You can just watch Taylor Green. He's running for his life. He is holding onto the ball at times too long, but for the most part, he's running for his life. You know, and it could be a pre-snap issue with him. He's not sliding protection correctly. He's not identifying the mic. He doesn't know what's happening pre-snap with defenses. Maybe that's some of it. Maybe it's not all on the offensive line, but something's not clicking up there. And I think that's the part that's still a little bit surprising. That's the reason why fans are so down, is like, here we go again. The offensive line's bad, and the quarterback, you know, he's already not accurate. He's got issues with accuracy, and on top of that, he's got to run for his life just about every snap.
Now, during the off season, or I should say August camp, you're out there every day. So once the season starts, are you able to get out to practice?
No, they closed it off. They gave us great access during spring. They go by periods. So you'd get like period 1 through, we got like periods 1 through, like 7 and 8 a couple of times in spring. And then early on in fall camp, they gave us quite a bit. And then the closer they got to install week, in fact, the last week of spring camp or fall camp, they said no more media. So I don't know when and if we'll be back at all this year, which I would like to see what they're doing in practice. But even when we were there, Mark, the most you could take away from practices were like fastball, which are like quick little scrimmage. You know, it's like 3-4 plays, and then that's it. Then the 2s come onto the field. Then they get their three or 4 plays. And then the 3s come on, and then they go into individual drills. So you try to get what you can from fastball. And so that's kind of what we're missing and what we're not able to see. And so that's why I think, too, there's an even bigger mystery as to what's going on, because you don't have eyeballs there, that you have to listen to what the U of A is telling you or what Pittman's telling you. That's all you got. You don't have the media that's able to go, well, we saw this at practice. What's going on? You have none of that. But by the way, that's a lot of schools, apparently. I guess
Sure.
A lot of schools are doing that now.
Well, rest assured, Ty, our buddy Vandy Dandy is picking a upset over Tennessee.
Okay.
We don't know Vandy Dandy's prediction record. That might be helpful.
Tennessee is not a monolith. Interesting. Okay. I wouldn't be disappointed yet as an Arkansas fan. I don't know. Is that what he's saying? That is he just saying that maybe the worst is yet to come? Or is he saying just hold on, maybe you're going to get a win somewhere? I think they are, and this is what's crazy, Mark. At their best, when they play clean, mostly mistake-free football, I really think they can go toe-to-toe with a lot of teams.
Well, they do, usually.
And they have. Yeah, I mean, majority of the losses have been pretty close. Even with the debacle they had last year with the Enos. That's what's wild about this. But this year, you have this quarterback who up until this game was incredible on 3rd down and long. It could be 3rd and 15. It doesn't matter. The guys are going to convert. They were one of the top third down converting offenses in college football for the first 4 weeks. It was because of Taylor Green and Jaquindon Jackson, the running back as well. But Green was a big part of what was going on third down. And A&M, you got to tip your cap to them. They had a fantastic game plan to slow down and contain Green, and it worked. And then it forced Green to become a passing quarterback, and you saw what happened. Like, that's not what he is.
This is our buddy George. That's the only reason I post that. That has nothing to do with Arkansas.
Oh, okay.
George, George, do not text and drive. So we appreciate you listening on your way to wherever.
Absolutely. I do that too. I'll put on, I do that more with YouTube than I do radio. I don't listen to radio anymore. I'll put on YouTube if there's someone I like and I want to listen to. I'm just going to put them on Bluetooth and listen to that because it's less ads. My gosh, radio, it's just all ads. I guess we're spoiled, but they're not wrong. You should 3-2 is not where a lot of people would have had Arkansas. They would have had Arkansas losing to Auburn. Again, I think that's looking back at it. I think they should have won that game. I think they're better. They're a better team than Auburn. We'll see where that takes them. We'll see how much better they are than maybe the back end of the SEC. Maybe they could sneak out an upset somewhere.
I'm starting to think that other than the big three, and maybe Ole Miss is not ready for prime time from that standpoint, that we're going to have a haphazard series of games here in the SEC between the rest of the league, maybe near the bottom. Vandy went to Missouri and took them to overtime.
Yep.
You got the number 7 team in the country hosting Vandy as a 3-touchdown favorite, and they go to overtime. You've got Auburn, who's just does nothing right. They any possible game deciding situation against anyone, they're going to blow it. They've got more turnovers than anybody in the country.
Oh my gosh.
They were winning with 3 minutes left. They had the game in their grasp. Mm-hmm. They had it decided. Oklahoma, inexplicably, with no offense, is able to turn that game around. The Arkansas-Texas A&M game's a 4-point game. Arkansas is an underdog at Auburn. They win that game. LSU does not look like a dominant football team against decent competition. Shoot, UCLA's awful, and that was a tie game at halftime. I just think, and of course, Kentucky beats Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Kentucky loses to South Carolina. South Carolina should have beaten LSU. I just think we've got a layer of teams that who knows what's going to happen when they get together.
Yeah. It's wild. And the top, it's weird. The top is kind of what you expected with Alabama, but yet not what you expect with Georgia. Like, Georgia should have lost to Kentucky not that long ago. And then they were trailing to Alabama. I think at one point it was like, I know it was 21-0 in the opening quarter.
It was 28.
And then as the game went on, of course, Georgia was able to kind of get back into the game. But who would have thought, like, this? It's wild. And Ole Miss, of course, I think they fell victim. I think they're a really good team, but they hadn't played anybody and they hadn't had any pushback. There's not film to go back to and go, well, we were actually challenged here and we need to work on this. Now they have that. We'll see if they can improve. But yeah, I wouldn't have picked Kentucky to win that game. And Ole Miss is not a scary place to go in and play at, by the way. It's not. They don't have the home field advantage they think they do, and Kentucky proved. I said that Friday. I said, watch Kentucky Ole Miss. This is going to be an interesting game. I picked Ole Miss to win, but I said, this is going to be an interesting game. Keep an eye on Kentucky and Ole Miss. That's not a hostile environment. And Kentucky walked in there and found a way to get it done, and they won the ball game, 20-17. So it is and then the Texas-Mississippi State game, like, that was a fairly close game for what, 3 quarters? I mean, 2.5 quarters, I believe. I think they went into half 14-0. Texas did, or no, 14-6.
Yeah.
I need to pull that up on my screen. But, I mean, it was a fairly close game for a little bit. It's just a weird – and, Mark, I know I've said this 1,000 times on your show, but this is absolutely a result. Well, first off, every game is different, but it's absolutely a result of the transfer portal. it has made things so unpredictable. And you got guys that are sliding in who are maybe 2s 3 weeks ago who came out of the portal and they worked their way into the 1s, and now they're getting their opportunity week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5 into the college football season. And they're juniors and seniors. They're 21, they're 20, 21, 22-year-olds, not some 18-year-old, up-and-coming freshman. It's an older guy that's now moving his way up the depth chart and finding his way onto the field and having an impact. Arkansas's got one of those. They got a wide receiver who's 29 years old. He's a true freshman who might, if he could stay healthy. Yeah, the baseball player.
29.
Yeah. I can't believe his name is slipping my mind right now because I haven't talked about him in a while. He's been hurt, but he was cleared to play, and I think he might have gotten snaps with special teams. I'm going to think of it in a second, or if I can get it pulled up. Monty Harrison. He played in the major leagues. He was a Major League Baseball player. And his contract, I guess I don't know if it's written into his contract or how, but he's technically a walk-on with his scholarship being paid for by the MLB. I mean, it's wild. He's 29 years old, and he's a freshman. And I thought he looked pretty strong towards the end of fall camp, and then he kind of ran into some injury issues. I think he has taken some snaps at wide receiver this year. But he was an athlete out of high school, 4-star. I know you. You're probably looking him up right now.
No, I'm looking at the SEC schedule. And
okay.
Well,
he looks like a grown man. I mean, he's 6'3", 230 pounds. He's thick. He's built more like a tight end. But he played at Lee's Summit in Missouri, and he was a 4-star prospect. But yeah, I mean, that's what you're seeing. I think the portal, you're seeing these older guys get their opportunities where they didn't last year. It's just changed the landscape so much. And I think that's a part of it. And, overall your depth is a little bit older than it used to be. And these teams, they're going to have a little bit more experience in their depth chart.
And to back up that point, after Georgia Tech upset Florida State in the first game, which is now not an upset, but they were 12-point underdog, I thought, okay, I'm curious to see underdog or double-digit underdog upsets. How many do we have? How frequent is this? So I went back last season and I found 18. I went through all the lines of all the games.
Yeah.
And in Power Conference football, 18 through the first 2 weeks of this season, there were already 8.
Wow.
18 last year, 8 through the first 2 weeks, double-digit upsets.
Wow.
And I got to go back and look at the last 3 weeks because I know we've got more.
I wonder what the spread coverage looks like how many teams are losing, teams are beating the spread. Yeah. I think that's more common.
Sure.
And
I would think so.
I mean, that's crazy. Already 8 double-digit. Wow. Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts. Yeah, the landscape of college football.
So now we've got a weekend where we've got Texas A&M hosting Mizzou. It's a 1-point spread, toss-up. Auburn, of course, we would be somewhat surprised if they went to Georgia and won, but
never say never.
They seem to play everybody close. They just seem to be dysfunctional turnover machine. But in terms of athletically playing well and being able to stay with anybody, I don't discard that game. Georgia might have been the best team in college football last year, and Auburn had them tied with 4 or 5 minutes left in the game, but that's a 24-point spread.
Yeah.
Ole Miss, we just saw them lose as a 17-point favorite. They go to South Carolina. We've seen South Carolina beat Kentucky by 25 and let a game against LSU go in the closing seconds. And Ole Miss is a 9-point favorite. Now, the one that would shock me, for as improved as Vandy is, if Alabama doesn't dust them off fairly easily, they are a 24-point favorite. You mentioned Tennessee is a 2-touchdown favorite against Arkansas. Then we've got another pick'em game down at the bottom of the board with Florida and UCF.
Yeah.
An interesting non-conference game that is.
-1 to Florida.
-1, and UCF just lost by 27 points to Colorado.
Yeah.
And they were a 12-point. There's another one from my list.
Yeah,
UCF
they were favored.
12-point favorite.
Yeah.
I lost by 27.
In our predictions in Discord, we have these weekly predictions. There's usually 3. Sometimes we sprinkle in an NFL game. And overwhelmingly, everyone picked UCF to win. And I thought I did, but I remember going into that pick going, you know what? I think Colorado might actually be, it's hard to look at that roster and just not think otherwise. So I went ahead and picked Colorado, and not very many people did. And to be fair, I think that would have been nothing against that, right? And yeah, they Colorado took care of it all. What is college football going to do and please don't, someone's going to watch this and come at me. What are fans going to do with all the hatred of Prime if Colorado manages to go the distance, get into the playoffs, and somehow advance to the playoffs? Maybe they end up, I don't think they will, but if they got to the championship game or whatever, just them getting to the playoffs alone is going to be nuts. It's going to be wild.
Well, the Big 12 and the ACC are so far behind the other 2 conferences that's fair. Them getting to the playoffs, especially in the Big 12, them getting to the playoffs versus them winning a game, that's such a monumental leap that sure, they could get to the playoffs. They could win the Big 12. Look at what's going on in the Big 12 right now. I don't know that anyone's proving to be any good in that conference.
BYU's been pretty good though, Mark. I mean,
they've been pretty good. Everybody's pretty good. But Colorado's going to show up in the playoffs as a 4 seed. They'll be a 4 seed because they had won the Big 12.
Yeah.
And they're going to play the winner of the 5-12 game. They are going to play the best team in the country that did not win a conference championship. They are going to play the second best team in the SEC or the Big 10. Colorado is going to show up if they're the Big 12 champion, and they're going to have to play Ohio State, Georgia, Texas, Oregon. See ya.
Yeah.
They got bludgeoned. They got blown off the field by Nebraska. Game was 21-0 before you could blink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nebraska, 27-10, 20-something to 10.
28-10. Yeah, they kind of cruised from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, this Miami's the only team that I can see out of the Big 12 or the ACC that might be legitimate.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And I've watched a little bit of Miami, not a lot. I like kind of what I'm seeing there. They're feisty. They
should have lost Friday.
They should have lost. Yeah. They
some people would say they did lose.
I think they got that call right.
I do too.
At the end of the game.
I do too.
But yeah,
I just reasoned. This is the way I reasoned it, Ty. And we'll get to Jason here in a second. We got our Clemson guy jumping on. Yeah, I won't go through all that. But basically, yeah, the Miami player had possession of the football and he's laying out of bounds. The play's over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was it.
Well, Ty, we appreciate you being here. Everybody check out Ty's work at Tusk Talk with Ty. It's right here on YouTube. It's only a click away. Right. And everything that Ty's got going on. When are you live the next time?
I'll be live tonight at 6:00. And we're going to go back over this.
That's 6 Central, everyone. We go by the Eastern time zone here. So 7 Eastern, 6 Central.
Yeah, I was just for any SEC folks in the chat, if there's any, we will we'll discuss. We'll go back over A&M a little bit. And then I've got some things to say about Sam Pittman and kind of what I feel like is going on. And the changes that are needed, but I feel like we've kind of gone over some of that last week. I did, but we're going to go into some more stuff tonight, so I'm looking forward to it. But Mark, I appreciate you having me on, man.
Absolutely. Ty, have a great day.
Take it easy.
Excellent. Arkansas's got a date against Tennessee as a 2-touchdown dog coming up on Saturday. Clemson's got its annual rivalry or not rivalry. It depends on who you talk to. against Florida State. But this has been the biggest matchup, of course, in the ACC for years and years and years. We got Jason Priester here from the Clemson Insider. Jason, what's going on today?
Pretty quiet after an eventful weekend, man.
Eventful weekend?
Yeah.
I hope.
It's been rough in the upstate of South Carolina the past few days. Rough.
Okay, yeah.
Storm rolling through, man.
Yeah.
No power. I mean, it's been a rough few days. For most of those, I came home yesterday, so back to some civilization. But yeah, it's rough going up there, man. There's going to be people without power for days, man. I know some people still without it, and rough.
Yeah, these hurricanes are nothing to mess with, and they don't slow down when they hit the mainland. It takes several hundred miles before they kind of just die off into some kind of a rainstorm, because they are devastating. And of course they sit over these areas, and I've heard and seen some just ridiculous flooding incidents.
This one's a little backwards, usually they come in from the Atlantic and go over the state, and they'll hit where I live, harder than the upstate. This one comes in through the Gulf, though, where I live didn't really, only got some rain, and it was worse than I was expecting. I went up there ahead of the storm, and it was worse than I was expecting. I don't think it was quite as bad, but it was very similar to when Hugo rolled through here, when I was in my teens. I was woke up by the winds about 6:30 in the morning. It sounded like a freight train going by. It was way worse than I was expecting. I was not expecting to sit there without power for 2 days. I know somebody that lives up in Rutherford County there in North Carolina, man, and they might be weeks without power, man. It's devastating up there for some people, man. I just could not believe the destruction I saw on the way home yesterday.
So you just got your power back.
My area where I live, we didn't get hit hard. That's why I say it's kind of backwards. Usually, it'll roll through where I live and then head on to the upstate. But since this one came in through the Gulf, we just kind of got the outer corner. But the place I stay when I go up to Clemson, the power came back on sometime during the middle of the night, I was told. But I left out of there yesterday morning. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to get back home to some civilization. And fortunately, I can say that because I don't live up there. Most of those people, they don't have anywhere else to go.
Sure.
Kind of stuck. And I know one of the guys I work with still without power. Probably two. I think one of them, he left yesterday too to head towards the beach. But I could not believe some of the stuff I saw on the way home yesterday. I mean, I counted up. I stopped counting at 6 light poles just snapped in half. I mean, that was between Clemson and Greenville.
Wow.
Still had a football game though, man. And Clemson's catching a lot of flack from some people for holding that game the other night. I still think it was the right thing to do. I talked to a lot of people. There were no resources pulled from other places, despite some of the narratives being put out there. And everybody I've talked to, man, they were glad to have something to get away to for a few hours to take their mind off what they're going through. And I was kind of expecting the stadium to maybe be 2/3 full at most. And it was sold out. And, by the time that thing's over with, there was 80,000 people in there. I mean, so people in that area were glad to have that game, stay scheduled as it originally was. And despite some of the backlash, you will not convince me it was not the right thing to do.
So Clemson takes care of Stanford in the first meeting of Stanford and Clemson as ACC colleagues, and it looked to be pretty comfortable. Stanford somewhat stayed within distance for a while, but a 40-14 final. I didn't see anything but a few highlights, so give us a look at how Clemson performed on Saturday.
Clemson's still without Peter Wood, so they've got some inexperienced guys playing at defensive end right now. And those guys, especially in the first half, they had some problems getting the edge set. They were getting sucked in and covered up. It was leaving some things open on the outside. And Stanford had a lot of success running the ball. They were able to move the ball on the ground, particularly pretty well against that Clemson defense in the first half. They were basically moving it up down the field. They just couldn't quit turning it over. They'd get down and they had to have scoring opportunities, and the quarterback would throw an interception down there deep in Clemson territory. They ended up turning it over. They had, I think, 3 or either 4 turnovers. I can't remember off the top of my head. And then they turned it over on downs 3 more times. They went for it on 4th down on their very first offensive possession, a 4th and 1, and Clemson stuffed them, and they ended up stuffing them again on 4th down 2 more times. But that was something Clemson was looking for coming in, some of the players said, because they had gone for it on 4th down 10 times over the first 3 games. But we also heard them say, Clemson, and Dabo Swinney said it too, that Stanford did some things on offense in the first half that they hadn't seen on film, that they were not expecting. And I think it was a lot of that misdirection stuff they were doing, kind of more options. It was some of it was more option style stuff, a lot of QB run. But Clemson had some issues stopping the run in the first half. They got it cleaned up after halftime. They kind of shut it down in the third quarter. But it was good. You know, the last 2 games against North Carolina State, App State, everything's gone right for Clemson. Everything. It was good to see some things not go right and them have to face a little adversity and see how they'd respond to it. Because even Klubnik was off a little bit. He underthrew some deep balls. He had Wesco wide open on 1 touchdown. Underthrew it. It'd have been a walk-in touchdown had he, hit him in stride. He underthrows it. Wesco still makes the catch, but it's not a touchdown. But he underthrew more than one. It was not. He was not as accurate with the football as he had been in the past 2 games. So it was good to see them face a little adversity and see how they respond. And they really started to pull away in the second half. They played better in the second half. Klubnik, again, using his legs to make some plays. 5 total touchdowns, if I'm remembering right. I think 2 of them came on the ground, if I'm remembering that right. But he had a big touchdown run to start the score, and a couple big, he made some plays, man. He's really finally starting to settle in on this offense.
So this is expected to be one of the games of the year in the ACC, and Florida State has just been awful. They are the disappointment of college football. So they go to SMU and just laid down and got just drubbed by a pretty marginal football team by 4 touchdowns. So they have their problems. So from a talent standpoint, Clemson's a better team, but not nearly is the gap as wide as just how the 2 teams are playing. Clemson's obviously playing for a championship. They look to be the main challenger to, if people are just evaluating play, Miami looks the part right now, although against Virginia Tech, they got outplayed for much of that game. So it looks like between Clemson, Miami, and Louisville, that there's going to be quite a fight for the ACC between those 3. So Clemson, Florida State, this isn't necessarily setting up as a vintage matchup in this series. So Clemson obviously just needs to go down there and not get wrapped up in Florida State's misery and overlook them, and go down there and give it 100% to take care of business.
Absolutely. You hit on it right there. Not overlook them. That as bad as they've been playing, that's a team that's got some talent.
Sure.
Mike Norvell I thought he did a really good job of bringing in some pieces out of the portal, but it just goes to show, it's kind of a crapshoot when you lean on the portal that heavily. You just never know if they're all going to gel together until they get on the field, and they have not gelled well there in Florida State. Also, it'd be interesting to see who they run out there at quarterback. I know DJ left after hurting his hand the other night. Norvell says after the game that he was fixing to make the change anyways. He threw 3 more interceptions against SMU, one of them a pick 6. He has just not looked really good the past couple games. I thought it sounds like he got off to a pretty good start against SMU. I wasn't able to watch it, obviously, and then it just kind of came off the rails for him based on what I've read. But that's it makes for an interesting matchup because it's a team you can't overlook, despite the fact what's happening down there with Florida State. If you overlook them and go down there and you play your D game, there's a chance that those guys will beat you. You let them hang around long enough, right?
Yeah, college football is littered. It's history with these kind of situations where a team just looks dead in the water. They're supposed to be better. They're the most disappointing team you can find. And they may just continue off the rails and sleepwalk through the rest of the season, but something about Clemson's colors, jersey, name may spark something in them to say, hey, let's rally together for one game and give it all we've got. We don't like these guys. We don't like this school. We've never liked them. And just get up for the game, and we can make a statement, and it becomes a dogfight. Because otherwise, man, Florida State's been awful. Like I say, I probably caught 10 or 12 plays out of that game against SMU. And SMU is not, they're an average football team. We're talking like the 50th best team in the country, something like that. And Florida State gets just, they can't stop the running game. The quarterback for SMU just does whatever he wants. Brashard Smith, who was a Miami transfer, just has a field day against him. Had 100 yards sometime in the third quarter. I don't know what he finished with. The game that Florida State won against Cal, if the Cal field goal kicker doesn't miss 2 field goals in the fourth quarter, they lose that game. And if he makes one of the field goals, then Cal probably wins the game on their last drive, but they had to score a touchdown. They got into the red zone, but they had to score a touchdown, so they lost the game on downs, but they would have been able to kick the game-winning field goal there. So they had 3 bullets they dodged in their win against Cal. Otherwise, yeah, again, they would be an 0-5 football team. It's just and what makes this, obviously, this narrative interesting, Jason, is that Dabo is the anti-Mike Norvell when it comes to the approach to the transfer portal. So if we were having this conversation 3 or 4 months ago, well, Mike Norvell's done everything right in the transfer portal, and the team he assembled last year, everywhere you looked, their star players were all transfers. And Dabo's doing it the exact opposite way. But for this particular year, and Dabo may prove to be the guy that's right overall, if you take that approach and you miss in the transfer portal, then boom, here's the result.
Absolutely. That's why I say, I think the portal's a great tool to use when you got a gap to fill or a hole to fill. But I'm not a big believer in kind of what Mike Norvell's done and just where he just leans on it so heavily to build a roster year after year. And I don't, I can see, where he might have to do that if the high school recruiting isn't where it needs to be and you're not developing at a quick enough pace. But again, when you lean on it that heavily year after year after year, you just don't ever know what you're going to get from one year to the other. But with this Florida State team, once Jordan Travis went down last year, on that offense was not very good. Maybe there were some signs of what was to come this year. I know that defense was still really good. I'm just really talking about the offense, but and I don't know what they've got behind DJ. We've seen Brock Glenn some. He was not very good the other night against SMU. They've got that freshman that I know at least one service had rated as a 5-star. Nobody knows if he's ready or not. It's going to be interesting to see what Norvell does and if he runs DJ back out there this weekend when Clemson comes to town, especially after he said publicly the other night he was already fixing to pull DJ anyway, even if he didn't get hurt. So that's going to be an interesting storyline to follow. But, yeah, it's going to be, one drastic portal philosophy on one side and one drastic portal philosophy on the other side, and they're going to clash on Saturday. We'll see which one comes out on top this weekend.
Folks, that's a lesson. Things can change in college football. They can just change. So we may think and overreact in one direction, and then we find out a few months later, well, and it's the truth usually lies somewhere in the middle, usually. And when you mentioned DJ and the quarterback situation there at Florida State, if there's one thing that's worse than your team losing week after week and looking just apathetic and dead in the water, what's even worse than that is when that's your football team and they're playing last year eligibility players. They're playing seniors. You got to see. It'd be one thing if they're just, we're going to go for broke. This is the future at quarterback. We're going to play him, and you lose week to week, but you're still excited about the progress and getting better. And maybe you win a game or two late in the season that shows you some promise. But when you're trotting out DJ and he's out the door, that is not a good position to be in.
Yeah, it is amazing to watch what's happened down there this year. I don't know. I mean, anybody that says they were expecting Florida State to be this good, I mean, this bad, they lying. Nobody was expecting this. So many people talking about how that was going to be, I mean, one of the best defensive lines in the country. Some people called it the best defensive line in the country back in the offseason.
Yeah, that I didn't agree with, but
and Norvell's the quarterback whisperer, and he's all of a sudden going to fix all that ails DJ. And you know, I never was buying into it. I always thought DJ kind of is what he is now. To me, he looked rather the same at Oregon State as he did at Clemson. I was not buying the Florida State hype this year. Although, to be fair, I wasn't buying it last year either, and I was wrong. I was wrong about that. But it's definitely intriguing what's happened down there this year.
All right, Jason, anything else on the Clemson front? Any recruiting news or anything like that?
No, nothing new on the recruiting front right now. They handed out a couple new offers since I talked to you last. They offered one new defensive lineman. He was in town yesterday. Sounds like he's getting close to making a decision. We'll see which way it goes. I forget what his name was. I can't pronounce his first name anyways.
Jason Priester's here. We can pronounce Jason's name. He's been coming on here for a long, long time. So we always appreciate Jason. Check out his work at the Clemson Insider. So if you're looking up that online, just Google the Clemson Insider. Is it theclemsoninsider.com?
That's it. Got it this time.
Clemsoninsider.com. There you see the X handle, Clemson Insider. And Jason, you can just follow him right there as well, JP_Priester. All right, Jason, enjoy the game, and we will catch up soon.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, Mark.
Excellent stuff out of Jason. As always, we appreciate Jason setting us up on Clemson football each and every week. And by the way, we've got a Clemson channel, folks, so check it out. Jordan Bowman, Tiger Paw, Craven get together every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. They switch from Friday to Wednesday. Got to keep that in mind. Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And then the postgame show with Jordan and Tiger Paw Craven. All right. We got Dominic on the line. Dominic, we appreciate your patience, but we got a couple guests there. Hello, Dominic.
This isn't Dominic. This is Dave, Minnesota Dave.
Oh, Minnesota Dave. We had Dominic down there prior to you jumping on. So Dominic had been waiting. Minnesota Dave, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Let's talk a little bit of the Gophers. Look, I think it was a questionable offsides call against Michigan, but let's put it this way, Mark. You can't give Michigan 14 points. They got the ball. Jackson got the ball stripped from him, and they were able to score a touchdown on that one. And they got the blocked punt in their own end, and then they were able to score a touchdown on that one. So you gave Michigan 14 points. And, you know, I'm still, very concerned about the offensive line. It's got a lot of holes. It's not creating holes for the running backs to get through. So the running game is not as good as it was. PJ really needs a lot of work to get everything straightened out. And the problem with PJ, I feel, is he just plays way too conservative on a lot of stuff. It's just, it's almost time. He literally probably has one more year with the Gophers because, no one's going to take that $25 million buyout he has. So, it's all or nothing for next year. I'm not totally giving up on the Gophers this year, but it was tough. I mean, I was so pissed off at the Iowa game that me and my dad decided to instead of going to the Minnesota-Michigan game in Ann Arbor for my dad's 75th birthday, we decided to go head up to Mount Pleasant, where my dad went to Central Michigan, and went to watch the Chippewas. And I'll tell you this, Mark. It's a heck of a lot cheaper to go to a MAC game than it is a Big Ten game by a lot. There was a package, $80, $84 for 4 tickets.
Sure.
I mean, that's 1 ticket at a Michigan game.
And how many people were there?
There was about 27,000. It holds about 30,000.
It's not bad.
You know, I'm about to say, hey, look, if you're getting sick of being price gouges, and you know, I know there's a lot of Michigan fans and Ohio State fans. If you're sick of being price gouged by the 2 schools, go support a MAC school. Go support a smaller school. You know, you don't always have to like watch them on TV, but like, you know, watch your Ohio State games and Michigan games on TV. But you know, go to your you know, Western Michigans, your Eastern Michigans, your Toledos, and you know, Bowling Greens. You know, go support those schools around the area.
Yeah, it's similar to baseball fans who get priced out of Major League Baseball games, and you can go to a minor league game all over the place. It's kind of similar to that philosophy. I don't recommend one way or the other. I just want people to do, when it comes to their entertainment, whatever they want to do. So some people would have just as good a time, and obviously, as you say, save a ton of money going to a MAC football game, but others don't want to see that level of play. So you either decide, I'm going to throw out all this money to go see a Big Ten game, or I'm going to stay home.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if you're going to go to a game and you want to save some money, enjoy some football, you know, go to the MAC, go to your Sun Belt, go to your Mount West games. If you live around those areas, you know, might as well. Those schools need your support too. So
I'm trying to think, who did Central Michigan play?
They played San Diego State University, and it was a very good game. Central ended up taking the lead early, and then San Diego State ended up scoring, I think, 3 unanswered at half. It was 21-13 at halftime. Central Michigan scored a touchdown, went for 2, didn't get it, and then in the fourth quarter, the Aztecs embarrassingly missed 2 chip shot field goals, one from 33 yards and one from 27 yards, and they weren't even close. Central got the ball with 2 minutes, ran their 2-minute offense, got down, kicked a 46-yard field goal, and won the game with 5 seconds left, and that was it.
Oh,
you know,
so you get to see a dramatic finish.
Yeah, I got to see a very good game. And it was a nicer day in Mount Pleasant than it was in Ann Arbor, because it was raining in Ann Arbor. So yeah, I was very, very happy. It was good. It was a good birthday for my dad.
Very nice. That's cool. Well, to get back to Minnesota, my thought is that after the way they played against Iowa, in which they got dominated in the second half, that for them to go to Michigan and play that close with all the mistakes that you just mentioned, rarely does a 10-point underdog get a punt blocked and make some of the other mistakes that they made and still were right on the cusp of victory. And I, for the record, think that even though technically maybe a forearm or the extension of an arm was technically offsides, I just think you swallow your whistle. You don't make that call. It's a ticky-tack foul, and Minnesota would have been at the Michigan 35 or 40-yard line with a chance to win or tie the game. And it's just unfortunate that as college football fans, we didn't get the opportunity to see what would have happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it it would have been the biggest comeback in the history of Gopher football if that happened, if they were able to come back and win that game. Because we were at my dad's favorite bar that he went to when he was in school, the Bird, at Central Michigan. And we were watching it all the way to like the third quarter, and Michigan kicked a field goal, and it was like, here we go again. They're going to run up the score against us. Might as well go grab our tickets now for the Central Michigan game. And then looked at the score, and I'm like, oh, heck, it's only a 7-point game now. What happened? College football is weird, man. It is. Nothing's safe.
Yeah, they started to catch a rhythm with the passing game, and Brosmer carved them up for 3 drives. I know that they had a big punt return that helped the 1 touchdown drive, but the other 2 were 75, 76-yard touchdown drives, and Brosmer was just clicking right down the field.
That's good. We'd like to see that, though. But that's been the problem. It's only been like near like the end where he starts to do well. He was doing that against North Carolina. He adjusted a lot better in the second half against North Carolina. Unfortunately, Minnesota missed the field goal that would have given the win. But it's going to be interesting what's going to be happening with PJ if he doesn't finish at least, if he finishes below 500. And that easily could happen.
Oh, I think it's going to happen. Although the way they played on the road at Michigan this past weekend, but my philosophy about Michigan is that even though they have this quarterback issue, they're obviously a really good team otherwise, and they can play the kind of game that they did against USC and kind of punch up in weight class a little bit, but that they can always keep teams like Minnesota in the game because they're probably not going to distance themselves from anyone, and that's what we got.
Yeah, I personally think it is in the Big Ten. It's Ohio State, and everybody else is catching up.
I tend to believe the same thing. Of course, I want to see Ohio State play somebody.
Oh, but, God. Yeah, well, they're finally going to have some strength on their schedule.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're coming up on a gauntlet. Iowa, Oregon, Penn State, Nebraska. Somebody else is in there that I'm forgetting.
Indiana is a way better team.
Yeah, so they're going to have to bring it every week for about 7 straight weeks coming up starting Saturday.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I work late, so I have to start going to bed. I'll talk to you later.
All right, Dave. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, bye-bye.
All right, everyone, that about does it for a Monday right here at the Voice of College Football. We'll be back on Tuesday, 10 a.m. Eastern time. The rest of your programming here at the Voice of College Football on this fine Monday would be the Alabama show at 6 Eastern. Then we've got Texas at 7. We've got a new Big Ten show launching with Darren Ball. That's tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time as well. Many new shows launching here at the Voice of College Football to tell you about over the next several days, and we are going to give you more information on how to order my new book, Disputed National Champions. But the next stop is with Jackson Johnson, 6 p.m. Eastern time on the Alabama channel. See you then.